Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Kat, and today I'm going to be setting up my month of September in my bullet journal in real time. If you're new to the channel, you probably don't know that I post my bullet journal pages every single month in my bullet journal, but I do it in two different ways. The first way is the video that I posted yesterday, and it's just like a rundown of all the pages that I did and products that I use and the theme in itself in a cohesive 10 to 15 minute video. And I like to do a real-time version of that same setup so we can talk a little bit and you can set up your own bullet journal for the month in real time with me. This idea came across my mind during COVID. I realized that a lot of people couldn't go out and journal with friends like they used to do, and I was one of them. I used to go out to Starbucks and journal with my friend that at the time did bujo, and then with COVID we couldn't do that, and so I took my platform and I did videos for people to journal alongside me. I have some videos that are like an hour long, but this one is just half an hour because I have to cut a bunch of parts of bits that are just me planning what I'm going to do with the page. So I hope you enjoyed this real-time bullet journal setup with me. I took advantage of Instagram and I asked you guys to send me questions about journaling, junk journaling, bullet journaling, journaling in general, honestly, and you guys did not hold back. So I have here a lot of questions to answer to, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments that I will answer in my October real-time bullet journal setup. Before I start with the questions, I just want to talk a little bit about the theme in itself. So for September, I decided to do a vintage scrapbooking theme. I tried to do one of these every single month, and it felt right to do one for September. That was the vibe that I was hoping for and that I was feeling at the time. So I decided to do a scrapbooking, junk journaling-ish theme for September that was all vintage. So I'm combining a lot of different vintage stickers, washi tapes, different papers, a little bit of junk as well, and some coffee as well. And it's so funny that in this theme, because it's my bullet journal, I didn't use any actual coffee, but in my junk journal, I set up my daily junk journals calendar for September, and I actually used coffee in my junk journal, and it was so fun to actually use it because I've been so scared to use that in my bullet journal. So if you want more information on the pages that I did and the products that I use, you can find all of that in my normal bullet journal setup for September that is going to be linked in the description below. So I got a lot of questions related to journaling, and I'm not going to organize them into categories because some of them are kind of mixed. So I got a lot of questions about journaling and how I do journaling and junk journaling, and I'm not going to separate them into categories because a lot of them talk about both things related to journaling. The first one that I got is how do you organize and store your junk for journaling? By colors, by themes, something else? So when I started junk journaling back in March, I got a box, a normal box to just keep all of my junk. But I quickly realized that I couldn't see all the junk that I had, and when I was going to make a page with junk in my junk journal, I couldn't really see everything. So the box became super full and I couldn't see anything that I had in there, and then I had two boxes. And as I was accumulating more junk to use in my bullet journal, in my junk journal, sorry, I decided that this was not working. And I thought about getting a bigger box, but that wouldn't solve the problem. So I decided to get a binder. And I've been posting about my junk journal binder on TikTok and Instagram. If you don't follow me there, you should, because that is how I organize my stickers and my scrap papers. I have a A5 binder and I have all of them in there organized by either theme or colors. And for my scrapbook papers, I have a binder that is divided by colors. So I have all of my red scraps together, all of my oranges, yellows, all of those colors. And I also have some for pastel and neutral tones. And for stickers, I actually divide them between deco stickers and normal sticker sheets. So deco stickers are like circles and squares and stars and stuff like that that is more used to decorate. And then I have a binder with just normal sticker sheets from small businesses. And because I was organizing my stickers that way, I decided to do the same thing for my junk. And I got an A4 binder and I keep in there all of my junk. And it's usually organized by color, but I also have some by theme. So I have organized by colors like reds, orange, greens, but I also have a sheet with junk from Japan, another one with random junk that I've been collecting that it's like its own theme, like for example, food wrappers. I have one for craft paper. So that is really interesting how that organization really kept me organized with my junk, and it's something that I highly recommend. Next question is how do you stay consistent with journaling when you don't feel motivated? So, this has been really hard for me because up until this year, I have not been able to journal daily. Right now, I do it more often, but it's still a bit of a struggle for me. So, I have two methods of doing this. When I posted my video about my journaling ecosystem, I talked about that in more detail, and I can link that video in the description below. But I mentioned that because I wasn't being able to journal like morning pages and write texts of just what I was on my mind, I decided to have a smaller version of journaling, which was a 5-year journal. And I came to this realization in like May or June, and I couldn't get a 5-year journal that would start in January 2026 because that would have been so far away from where I was at that point that I created my own 5-year journal and I started in July, the 1st of July 2025. And it's funny because the last day of completing that journal is going to be when I turn 30th, at the 30th of June. So I decided to create that, and that really helped me because with a normal journal, you're kind of more forced to write big pieces of text. With a 5-year journal, you just have a couple of lines. So I use them to make like a brief description of how my day went and what we did. And then if I'm doing that and I feel like I have some more things to say, or I need to journal about this thing that happened, or if what happened made me feel a certain way, I go into my diary and I write what I need to write. But it's not an obligation to do it every single day or to do it weekly. It's really like in a necessity base. If I feel like I need to journal, I will do it, but if not, I can just write something simple in my 5-year journal. And what I've noticed is that, first of all, I'm much more likely to grab my journal and write things about my day because it's just a few lines. And if I'm in the moment, I'm already updating all my journals, it's really easy to move into my diary and write the things that I'm thinking about and what I need to get out of my mind into paper. So that really helped me. It's kind of like that small baby step before an actual step, and I feel like it really changed my perspective and my habits into journaling. And the other method that I use to journal consistently is to have a habit for that, a tracker for that in my habit tracker. So, for example, in September, you're going to see in a little bit, I'm going to have a small calendar in my habit tracker for a daily check in. And my daily check in means that in some point of that day, I grabbed all of my notebooks, all my journals, my Notion, and my Google Calendar, and I did a big check in on my life. So I updated my journal lists, I updated my Google Calendar, and I updated my bullet journal and 5-year journal. And if I need, I go into my diary. And that really helped me because it's a tracker, and I feel happy when I fill out my trackers. And so if I failed one day, I know that the next day I'm going to do that first thing in the morning. And that really works out in like a psychological way to make you do things that you otherwise wouldn't do. So having a tracker to stay consistent with journaling, it's actually life-changing. And that actually brings me to the next question. A lot of people mention that they don't have time in the morning to journal, and they ask me if I prefer morning or evening and why. For me personally, I like to include it in my morning routine, but I also find that if I do my check-in with journaling at night before I go to bed, I'm much more likely to have a productive day the next day. So how I do my morning routine is I get up, I grab water, I read a little bit, and then I start work. And it's usually before my husband wakes up, so I have that time where I need to be silent. And in that half hour, I try to just grab all my journals and update everything that I have to do and journal a little bit about the day prior. But sometimes we go to the gym first thing in the morning, so I don't do that. And when I come home, I'm just in an urge to start working. So I don't journal in the morning, but I make sure to do it either before dinner or as soon as I come to my studio after dinner, I update all of my journals. And I usually put a video on the background, so I'm like not really paying attention to the video, but I just have background noise. But it helps me to just update my journals at night, so I know what I have to do the next day. So journaling at night is really good for the next day, but journaling in the morning kind of like sets my day for the entire day, if that makes sense. Now, this one is a lot about junk journaling because I've been posting a lot of videos about like grabbing junk from different places. And someone asked me, how do you get so much junk for your junk journal? And I'm thinking about doing a TikTok about that actually. So, actually, junk journaling keeps you more aware of all the junk that is around you and the things that you use on a daily basis. And for me, I actually started paying attention to everything that I was touching and using. And before I threw things in the trash, I would always ask myself, like, can I use this for junk journaling? And when we go out into places or we go into a restaurant, I'm always on the lookout for things that they have for free around there that I can take, or maybe sugar packets, or like fancy paper cloths or something like that. And I'm always on the lookout for that, and I take them home. A lot of the things that I use as my junk journal are free to take, and a lot of people get like stressed out and they are shy and they can't take the free things that are available to you. But actually doing that brings you a lot of junk into your house, and it's fun. My husband doesn't find it funny when I go out and I always try to look for things, and I try to take that thing off or to grab some papers and tuck them in my tote bag. But if it's free, like, you can take it home, it's not wrong, you know? So yeah, I find junk in everyday life, and the things that I like to collect the most are like flyers or magazines, or like brown bags that you use for bread or something like that at the supermarket. If you get fruit from the supermarket, you can get those fruit stickers for your junk journal. If there's any packaging that you like from foods and stuff, you can save it or wash it and use it in your junk journal. I use a bunch of food wrapping things for my junk journal, and you just need to wash them and then you can use them. And for example, now for my August daily junk calendar, I'm actually at this moment drying in my dish rack a Capri Sun pack, so I can cut it out and use in my junk journal. So a lot of the things that I use in my junk journal are just from things that I find in everyday life or that I take for free. Oh, and another question that I got a lot that I'm just remembering is, how do you start a junk journal? Actually, I did a couple of mistakes in mine, and I can do a video once I finish my junk journal, explaining everything that I need to change in my new junk journal and how I did things. But I basically started junk journaling because I found that a lot of people were creating things with trash, and I was like, that sounds like a great idea, like to grab things from trips and stuff. I already did that, but I wasn't putting them anywhere. And add that to your journal. And also because I was really stressed out and tense when I was doing my bullet journal, I always felt like I couldn't make any mistakes and I couldn't fail in my bullet journal, and everything had to be perfect. And I felt in my life that something more like stress free and chaotic was missing to counterbalance my bullet journal. So I decided to grab a brand new notebook that I had at home, and this one was from Archer and Olive. And I started just making collages and scrapping things. And I at first didn't even think about the spreads. I just did one and I was like, that felt great. And then I did another one with trash, and I was like, man, it felt so great to just put stuff in here and not care if it looks great or if it's straight or decent or if it even makes sense. Like, I don't really care about any of that. Um, and that's how my junk journal journey started. Back in March, I made a bunch of collages, and I actually mix scrapbooking with junk journaling a lot. I don't separate the two. I still like to do collages in my bullet journal for like my monthly recaps, but most of it is done in my junk journal. So I did like a birthday spread and like lists that I have and stuff like that. I do everything in my junk journal. I treat my junk journal as like a stress-free notebook. I can do anything. If I want to put there stuff that doesn't make any sense, I do it. If I want to try some things with paint, I'll do it there. And my bullet journal is mainly for productivity and it's my agenda. So I'm not going to mix anything that it's more junk journally into my bullet journal. I believe I got time for just one more question, and I wanted to answer this one because it's really important to me that I do. And someone asked me personally, how do you adapt your bullet journal for ADHD or busy schedules? So I've come to the realization that I might have some sort of ADHD. I'm not 100% sure, but I like to treat my bullet journal and do things in my day to day life that are from someone who has ADHD, even though it's not diagnosed, because I realized that it really works out for me. So my bullet journal has to be super simple. So, for example, for August and September, I did the exact same pages, similar layouts, but the exact same things, because if it works, then there's no need to change. And the more things you change every month and the more things you add to your journal, you're probably less likely to use it because it's so overwhelming. So for me, I divide my bullet journal. It's not maybe divide the right word, but it's like I combine my bullet journal with my Google Calendar, and I find that I'm much more productive that way because I use two different tools for two different things. So my Google Calendar is mostly for time blocking and to see where my time is going. And my bullet journal is a lot more for productivity and tasks and stuff that I just need to write down. So I write down events and my projects, habits. In September, I'm going to track my sleep and my mood. And most importantly, my weekly and daily to-do lists that otherwise are just going to be tasks in my head, and I'm going to be super frustrated that I forgot something, and so I just use my bullet journal for that. But another thing that I realized with ADHD is that if you listen to some sort of brainwaves, it really helps you to just stay focused on what you're doing. So that is usually what I listen for. Um, so that's usually what I listen to when I'm planning my bullet journal. I just sit quietly, I don't watch any movies or anything, and I just put those brainwaves, like those frequencies, going. And it really helps me to just stay productive and in that space. Um, your bullet journal has to be flexible with your lifestyle and with your work schedule. So if you're doing too much, bring it down a notch. And that is something that I'm actually going to do for my weekly spreads. I realized that I really like to do these collages that you're seeing on your screen in this video with papers and stuff, and I like to create these pages. But when it comes to my weekly spread, because they just last 1 week, and I usually do them late Sunday night, they can take me an hour to plan. Like, that's something that for me doesn't work. So they are going to be a little different from the rest of the theme, but I'm much happier because I can just spend 20 minutes or half an hour tops creating my weekly spreads, and that's okay, you know? So you kind of have to adapt your bullet journal to your lifestyle. That's how I do it, and right now my bullet journal works out for me because of all of these other journals that I have, and I think that also helped with my life in general, is to have a junk journal where I just do whatever I want to balance my bullet journal. That's really what I feel. So if you have ADHD or a busy schedule, have a agenda for you that you keep simple and organized and clean, and have another notebook to just kind of balance that out. So those are the most interesting questions that I got from Instagram. I really like to answer all of your questions, and I'll see you in my next one. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you enjoy it, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!